Welcome to Deep Dive, the place where we go a little bit deeper on last week's sermon. We are in a new little mini-series called The Gift of Rest. So I got sermon 2 in that mini-series. We got Lisa coming up with sermon 3, but we are talking about the gift of rest and how that is so significant, shaping our walk with Jesus and the way we interact with others, and how we are invited to experience the gift of rest. Jesus talks about it in Matthew chapter 11. He gives this invitation for us. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." He says, "Take my yoke upon you. I will teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls." So often we can think about the things that Jesus lays out for us and how we live life, and it can feel like a burden. It can feel like an extra. It can feel like another thing to do. And yet what Jesus invites us to is this place of rest, experiencing life with Him, that we aren't doing it in our own strength and our own ability. And so we're invited to this gift of rest that He offers to us, that we would grow in an experience of His love and the life He created us for. It isn't always easy to do. There's lots going on. I was talking about it this past week as September's right on the horizon. Parents, you understand, schedules are starting to fill up. If you got kids in sports, winter sports, we got evaluations going on, knowing that schedules are going to get full. And it is really easy to find ourselves busy and rushing. And this idea of rest is like, maybe we'll put that off to next summer. Maybe we get it at Christmas break. But the invitation to rest that Jesus has for us isn't something that is just a long way off, but it's something that He invites us to experience in the average, ordinary, everyday pace of life. There was a quote by Augustine that I referenced on Sunday, and it basically says, "You have made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they find rest in you." So he's talking about God and our interaction and engagement with God. He said we were made for God, and our hearts will remain restless until we find rest in God. So often we can try to avoid the restlessness of our heart, the chaos of life, maybe the hurt, pain, grief, maybe the underlying unsettledness of maybe not feeling enough, like we've done enough, like we have enough, like we are enough. And we have this restlessness in our heart and our soul. And his statement is saying that unless we find rest in God, unless we can come and meet with Him, to take a deep breath, to take a pause, to engage with Him, we will always have this restlessness in our souls. And yet Jesus invites us to experience a life that knows and experiences peace that would transcend understanding, that is whole and complete and lacking nothing. And it is out of that place of rest, it's out of that place of engaging with God, that we can live the life we were created for, that we have something to share with the world around us. We talk about it at St. Albert Alliance Church, that we have come to bear good news and to bring the good news into the places that we live, learn, work, and play. But the way that we do that is by being people who practice the way of Jesus, that lean into and receive this gift of rest and the invitation to the gift of rest, not as like another thing that we have to do, another burden to carry, but as an invitation to rest, to breathe deeply, to encounter the grace and mercy and love that God has for us. And it's out of that place that we then lead into and have opportunity to share good news with the world around us, to invite them to encounter God's love for them, God's grace for them, God's goodness and peace for them as well. So often the busyness of our lives fights that experience of rest. We at times choose busyness in our lives to not address, not deal with, to ignore, to pass by, to maybe push down that restlessness of heart. And yet the invitation that Jesus has for us and for those around us is that we would experience the gift of rest that's found in Him. I talked about it on Sunday. This related it to training for an endurance race and how we can run in a heart rate zone that allows us to run with endurance, run a long ways that we can recover quickly. And yet for so many of us, we live life in like a zone 5 in a heart rate zone. Like we are all out, we are at our max capacity. And really that only allows us to do short distances in short times. And yet the invitation from God to experience rest that sustains us requires that we run life in zone 2, that we choose to slow down our pace, that we can experience rest, that we would be restored and empowered and equipped to run the race that's set before us, to run with endurance, to continue to proclaim God's goodness and faithfulness in our lives. So as we navigate life, as we navigate September and what we have in store in front of us, man, we have to make choices and decisions that would allow us to run and live in zone 2, choosing to slow things down, that we would experience the rest and grace that God has for us. As always, we'd love to hear from you, love to hear your process in this, living this out, putting it into practice, especially as we head into September and a busy schedule. How do we choose to live at a slower pace, engaging with God, experiencing the rest that He has for us and He invites us to? Take care, have a great week. Thanks for joining in.